All right, Steve says, boom fans, what have we got going on? Whew. I must admit, I'm so excited about this little section. I've been holding off on filming this little subject because I didn't want to do everything right away. But anyway, now is the time. I want to go into the 1990s. I want to talk about Cosmic. And hopefully after this little video is finished, you will be of the same mindset as me, where I think of the 1990s Cosmic era as a golden age of Cosmic. I don't think it'll ever be repeated. For the significance of it, the grandeur, the sales, it's just not going to be repeated. So let's go back a little bit, shall we? As you can see, we have the culmination of the 1990s Cosmic, which is here. Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, Infinity Crusade. Also, Adam Warlock getting his own series. But I want to expand and diversify the subject matter a little bit. I'm just not going to talk about the Silver Surfer and Thanos and Warlock. I want to also bring in one of my favorites, Quasar, which was also magnificent for me. I know there's a small little niche of people out there that loved it just like me. It was overshadowed, of course, by what was going on over in the Silver Surfer. I understand that. But I wanted to bring it out of the shadows a little bit and talk about it. But before we do that, let's talk about the origins of that Cosmic era. Where did that Cosmic era actually begin? It didn't actually begin in the 1990s. Actually, if you trace it back, it sort of begins with this issue. Okay, this is Silver Surfer number 1 from 1987. It's by Steve Englehart. And of course, at the time, Silver Surfer had been out of publication for many years. In actual fact, he hadn't had his own book since 1970. And there was a reason for that. Stan had wrote the initial 18 issues. And it seems like he took it as a personal failure when the series was cancelled after 18 issues. And hence the Silver Surfer just didn't carry on with another writer. The series was cancelled, and then Silver Surfer went into a period of limbo where he would make odd appearances, either in the Fantastic Four or in the Defenders a couple of times, and even in Tomb of Dracula. But generally speaking, he wasn't seen. Stan had like an edict. The Surfer wasn't being used. So here we come all the way up to 1987. And Steve Englehart is given the call, and which is funny because Steve Englehart had been away from Marvel for most of the early 1980s, and had just come back in 1985 and was currently writing, the West Coast Avengers. But he'd been away for quite a while. Steve had left Marvel in the late 1970s. He'd been working over at DC. But now he was back at Marvel, and he was doing a good job on West Coast Avengers. And he was given the Silver Surfer, and of course, he was also given the Fantastic Four. So, for the Cosmic era of the time, Steve Englehart was the man. There was a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. So the first thing he had to do was fix the major flaw in the first series, the Stan Lee and John Buscema series from 1968 to 1970. And you're probably wondering, what is this flaw? Let's get it straight. I love that series. Okay, I love John Buscema's art. I love Stan's writing. It's very evocative, very romantic, very, sappy. I'm a sappy person. The regular reading populace liked a little bit more slam bang action, and hence the series was cancelled. He was trapped on Earth. So we had this magnificent cosmic being, and there he was on Earth, flying around talking about the woes of humanity. And it wore on the readers after a while, and sales dropped. Steve Englehart obviously had to deal with this problem. What was he going to do? Well, the first thing he had to do was get Silver Surfer off Earth. And therefore he had to get past Galactus's edict that he would never leave Earth again. Now, I'm not here to give all the information. I want you to read the issue, find out how. Needless to say, he gets off Earth. It's very clever. So here we are in 1987. Steve Englehart has the reins. The Silver Surfer is out. He's out in space. It's actually sort of sad at first because, obviously, what's the first thing the Surfer's going to do? He's going to go home. He's going to go back to find his love, Shalabal. So he goes back to Zenn-La. He meets Shalabal. And she's not that, the sappy female from the 1960s. Now she's basically in control of Zenn-La. She has a position of responsibility. And she can't give all that up, to be with the Surfer. Okay, so what does that mean? In one fell swoop, Steve took Surfer off Earth, and then boom, freed him from Shalabal and Zenn-La. Now he can go out and about. The whole universe was his to play with. Great, right? Fantastic. Of course it's great. So this is 1987, and for about 2 years, we get the stories basically dealing with the elders of the universe who have this mischievous plan, which is really odd. It's basically a plan based on jealousy. These billion-year-old entities, these beings, are jealous of Galactus for being born or created before them. So they hatch this plan to destroy him. To do that, they're going to use all their soul gems, or infinity gems as they're called later on. It's big stuff. It's big stories. Issue 10 is just a massive story right there. Always sells very well. So the Surfer is sort of caught up in this huge big story. The Surfer isn't like the single narrative here. He's caught up in this massive cosmic drama. And I remember when I was reading it, I was like, whoa, all these characters. Some of those elders were brand new. I'd never seen them before. Created brand new and fresh by Steve Englehart. He brought back Mantis, of course, because that's his character. So about 2 years later, in 1989, another little cosmic series pops up. What are we talking about? Yes, we are talking about Quasar. Okay? 1989, Quasar comes out, number one. Mark Gruenwald is the writer. Mark Gruenwald has been tasked with writing. And who else was going to write this character? Mark Gruenwald had been working at Marvel since 1979. And he had obviously had dreams of writing a solo series with Quasar. He had used Quasar multiple occasions on different stories, including the most famous to date for him was the Project Pegasus series, which featured, the death of Deathlock and all this great stuff. George Perez and, oh, wow. I mean, it was so good that they actually put it in a trade paperback, Project Pegasus trade paperback. Who would have thought that? Quasar, of course, is the main security chief of Project Pegasus. It's great stuff. Fantastic stuff. So, obviously, as time passed and Mark's influence grew, I think maybe he was able to whisper in the correct ears about, hey, if Quasar's ever going to get a series, I'm going to be the one that writes it. And Marvel obviously had some faith in the Quasar because they put him right away in the Avengers. Issue 302, the Quasar's right there on the front of the cover. He's bursting out. He's back. So Quasar's appearing in the Avengers, and then he's appearing in Quasar. Now, it wasn't a massive book. It didn't start off massive. It wasn't a huge hit, the Quasar book, compared to some other books. A year later, after that, we had a book called Guardians of the Galaxy come out with Valentino on art. And it was like a $15 book almost within like 2 months. It was like, whoa, what happened here? Very popular book. Quasar didn't get any of that for some strange reason. It was quietly off in its own little cosmic corner. So at the time, 1989, if you were a cosmic fan like me, you were reading Quasar, Silver Surfer, Thor, okay, of course, which is, he has his cosmic elements, he's on Earth, but a lot of cosmic stuff, Asgard, that's cosmic. I also read a little bit of Doctor Strange, because that's also cosmic, he's going into different dimensions, but in 1987, he was going through like this weird little period, and I was not really reading a lot of Doctor Strange. However, little, did we know that things were really going to begin heating up. Steve Englehart did a really fascinating story where he has the soul gems in the hands of Sue Richards and Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. Truly fantastic. It also features beautiful art by Ron Lim, a very young Ron Lim. And all sorts of great stuff going on. The first 10 issues, first 11, 12 issues, he's getting rocking and rolling. The next sets of issues, he really starts pulling it out. There's this huge cosmic drama. There's this huge empire drama. He fixes a situation that had taken place in 1985, where the Skrulls had been set. They were in their shapes. They weren't able to transform anymore. If any of you remember the Fantastic Four and Avengers Annual from 1985, that's what happened. So Steve, in a wonderful story, gives the Skrulls the ability to change once again. And of course their confidence is growing, and then of course they're gonna clash with the Kree. We've got this massive Kree Skrull war, massive, like 100 times bigger than the clash that Roy Thomas had done back in the early 1970s. This was a massive space drama. Over in Quasar, basically Wendell Vaughn, who's Quasar, was, the first issue's basic features his origin, lets you know that, the gauntlets that he's wearing, the bracelets, are used to belong to a character called the Crusader that got killed in Fantastic Four 165. And those bands, okay, quantum bands, were taken by S.H.I.E.L.D. and then, given to the young trainee Wendell Vaughn. It's a huge overlying origin sequence. It just, Mark Gruenwald knew his continuity, okay? Mark Gruenwald was one of the writers of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. He knew his continuity. He tied it all in. You got the Eternals of Titan and the beings of Uranus. It's just really great stuff for people who really love their cosmic stuff. So everything's bubbling, and then just as you think it can't get any better, boom! Steve Englehart leaves Silver Surfer and is replaced by Jim Starlin. In issue 34 of Silver Surfer, boom, right there on the cover you have Thanos. And I remember thinking, well, wait a minute. When I first came to the Marvel Universe, he was dead. What in the hell's going on around here? Well, I can't tell you how happy I was. I was overjoyed the fact that I was going to be able to read Thanos. Let's go back even further in history, just for a second. When I first got into comics, one of my friends at school gave me the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, Book of the Dead. And I was reading through it and I saw a picture of Thanos. And I was immediately attracted to the picture. I was like, whoa, who is this? This guy looks really powerful. And my teacher at the time, a young kid, he looked at me and he goes, well, he's dead. He got killed. And you're never going to see him again. And I was like, great. I flicked through, I saw all these characters and I was like, oh God, I'm never going to get to see these except for back issues. So as the years passed, I was able to pick up some back issues and place together what was going on. Obviously, when it comes to Thanos, anyone who's a Thanos fan, we know that he appeared in Captain Marvel, he had the Cosmic Cube, and then he goes away for a little bit and he comes back again and has this plan with all the Soul Gems in Avengers Annual 7 and Marvel 2-in-1 Annual 2. And then, in the Avengers Annual 7, he's turned to stone, Warlock dies, and it's just like, oh, okay. Sort of sad that, by the time I came to the Marvel Universe, all these massive characters were just sitting on the sidelines, dead, doing nothing. It all works out in the end, because there I am. It's 1990. Jim Starlin is back. He's on the Silver Surfer. He immediately returns Thanos to life. Then Jim has this massive plan in his head. Of course, we had no idea what was going to happen. We didn't know where he was going. Not only was he going to bring Thanos back, but he was also going to bring back Adam Warlock and Gamora and Drax and Pip the Troll. Just wonderful times. And I was like, yes, now I'm going to get a chance to read these fantastic characters. The characters have been dead for years. No one had been using them at all. Just great stuff. Now that's all leading up to Jim Starlin's grand opus, of course, which is, you can see right here, it's the Infinity Gauntlet. To this day, still the best-selling cosmic story of all time, and the basis for the Avengers Infinity and Endgame movies. So what more can we say? However, let's go back to this a little bit. Quasar. So over in Quasar, Quasar is being told by his mentor, used to be Eon, and Eon gets killed. And it becomes Epoch. It's a cosmic entity with vast power, but unfortunately he's not fully matured. But word from down the line is there's a major threat coming to the universe. And it's going to come through Earth. So Eon is preparing Quasar for this great threat. When I read that, and I also read the Silver Surfer, of course, I was thinking, okay, there's going to be a crossover. Thanos is going to be this great threat. And, both books are going to join in. How wrong could I be? It was far better than that. Mark Gruenwald would never be that lazy. Mark had his own ideas for his threat. He used Maelstrom. And Maelstrom had a huge fight with the Avengers in issue 250 back in 1984, and had basically been gone since that point. But Maelstrom had befriended a rather powerful entity, an aspect of the universe called Oblivion. And Oblivion is not opposed to there being nothing in the universe, just nothing. So he was going to use Maelstrom as his pawn to get that way. Huge story, massive. And in Quasar's little support cast, another character was introduced. It turns out to be Moondragon. Everyone knows I love Moondragon, right? I love Moondragon. And there she is, boom, she's in Quasar. I can't tell you the enjoyment I was getting of reading these books at the time. So over in Surfer, I'm reading Thanos. Over in Quasar, I'm reading Moondragon, this great threat, Maelstrom. It's all coming. It's all coming to a head. The early 1990, 1991, truly fantastic. So, where are we heading with this? You've got basically two cosmic stories going, in parallel direction, but not really converging on each other. Thanos is off doing his own thing. Maelstrom is doing his other thing. Of course, Thanos is working for death, and Maelstrom is working for oblivion. Now, in Quasar, they have a story, which, lucky enough, they did reprint in this beautiful trade paperback, if you can go and find it right here. Cosmos in Collision. And I have to admit, I really do. I do like the Surfer stuff and the Return of Thanos. Yes, I do. But for me personally, the Quasar stuff is more satisfying. It hits me where I am. The continuity, the story, the characters, and basically the Cosmos in Collision story, and also before that, in the same trade, they have a story featuring the Stranger's homeworld. It's truly, truly amazing. And it's Mark Gruenwald's way of bringing characters that had been gone for years back. I mean, there's probably about 30 characters in this storyline where they go to the Stranger's prison world, where the Stranger has collected all these fabulous characters from all over the Marvel's history. And so, for me, as I saw each character, I was like, oh, I haven't seen him in years. I haven't seen him in such a long time. Including the most obscure characters you could possibly imagine. Okay? Many, many, many years ago, there was a character that appeared in Daredevil. And he was just called like Airwalker. And it was just some person with a little gun and like a space suit that was walking up into space on these virtual stairs. It makes no sense. I actually asked Marv Wolfman about it. He goes, I don't know. I don't remember what I was going to do. I was like, oh, okay. That character appeared in the one issue. It didn't do anything. Boom. Guess where he is? He's on the Stranger's homeworld. The Stranger gets involved in this huge battle with his arch nemesis, the Overmind, and all these people get freed. And some of the characters who get freed are right down my alley. Jack of Hearts gets freed and heads back to Earth. I love Jack of Hearts. It can't get any better. It cannot get any better than this. It will never be beaten for me. To see all these characters that I had seen in so many years, they're all coming back. And then, of course, back to the Surfer. He gets the gems. He gets the gauntlet. He's able to complete the task that he's been given by Death, of course, which is half the universe has to be killed to correct a balance that Death has seen as an imbalance. So Thanos just clicks his fingers, all these characters die. Boom. Infinity Gauntlet. Okay. What I find fascinating that is in Quasar number 24, as Thanos is reveling in all his power, he has the gems. There's a small little section where Maelstrom pops up in front of Thanos, just briefly for a moment. It's like, well, if you can forget all your plans, and then pops off, and Thanos is with Mephisto, and Thanos is like, who is that? Well, Maelstrom's plan for the universe is far worse than Thanos's. Maelstrom, his plan is to create like a black hole, a massive black hole, and suck the entire universe into it, leaving nothing but nothingness, where Oblivion and Maelstrom can dwell. I don't think you can call it living, can dwell in this nothingness. So Maelstrom succeeds. He actually gets this black hole going and everything's being sucked in, and the Watchers are there all looking, saying, hey, it was nice knowing you. It looks like it's all over. Quasar saves the day, of course. Maelstrom is killed. You can't kill Maelstrom. And then there's a specific issue where Thanos, he realizes that Maelstrom is dead. And he's sort of like, oh, I just sensed that a threat that was coming along has gone. Good, no problem. Great stuff. It showed awareness of the universe that, you know, one character knew what someone was doing. So if you were a continuity watcher, you know, okay, Maelstrom is dead. Thanos knows about it. And then, of course, Thanos appears in Quasar in issue 26 and 27. Boom, it's all great stuff. Fantastic stuff. Which, of course, I can't get too much into detail because otherwise this post would be 55 hours. But, of course, as we know, the Infinity Gauntlet comes to an end. Guess who ends up with the Gauntlet? Adam Warlock. And Adam Warlock gets his own series, of course, in 1992. Warlock on the Infinity Watch, where he grabs my characters, including Moondragon, brings them into the Watch. Great stuff. So there was this moment, this brief moment in time, this golden era for me, where I'm reading the Silver Surfer, I'm reading Quasar, I'm reading Warlock. Okay. Just fantastic stuff. And in between that, I had these different mini-series. Also, at that time, the Fantastic Four was also really good. Thor was just astoundingly brilliant. And the Avengers was also incredible. Bob Harris was doing a great job at that time with the artist Steve Epting, with a story with the Gatherers. Hopefully, if you were around in the 1990s, you know what I'm talking about right there. Thor was fantastic. You're talking about Tom DeFalco and Ron Friends. Oh, my word. Truly, this era is a golden time for me. I'm having the time of my life. I really, just the best. Unfortunately, all good things come to an end. By 1995, the cosmic stuff had run its course. The Warlock series was cancelled. The Marvel Universe had held sway or survived with the Infinity Gauntlet, the Infinity War, and Infinity Crusade. So I would say 1995 is the end of the golden era for Cosmic. For me, and I think in general, I think most collectors and people who are collecting will also come to the same conclusion that by 1995, that golden era, which had begun in 1987, had come to an end. And then we had to wait years and years for the cosmic stuff to come back, which it did later on with Annihilation and Abnett and Lanning and people like that. So I know many of you out there have probably read a lot of this stuff, but please check out Quasar. Okay, the Quasar series came to an end in 1994 after 60 issues. There's plenty of stuff to get into. Just fantastic. And just to showcase how much of a fan I am, as you can see, I have these issues here. Some of my favorites, signed by Greg Capullo, the artist. We had a signing at the store, and everyone else was getting Batman and Spawns. I came up with Quasar. And he had a big smile on his face, and I said, no one else is going to bring Quasar to you to sign. And we had a great conversation about Mark Grunwald, about Quasar, and I think it was refreshing for him not to talk about Spawn and Batman just for a couple of minutes. So anyway, I just wanted to go over this period a little bit. Later on, I'm going to investigate certain storylines in further detail, but right now, I think that gives you a good overview. Hopefully it may spark some interest. If you haven't read the Quasars, I'd be very surprised if you haven't read this. If you haven't, look at this. You're gonna have to. This box set here is about $400, what it was retail. I don't know whether it's still available. You can get yourself, your beautiful omnibuses. So anyway, enjoy yourselves. dive into that cosmic stuff all the way up to your neck. Boom!